Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, January the 27th, 2025. This is an important week of setting the stage for new beginnings, new priorities, with the new moon on Wednesday in Aquarius. But let's start with Monday. And I always start with where is the moon? Because the moon represents the general public tone, the public reactions. And it's in work-oriented, business-oriented Capricorn. And in fact, from noon, early afternoon, that moon in Capricorn will be in harmony with taskmaster business Saturn, responsible Saturn. And Saturn is the planet associated with Capricorn. So this is a very favorable early afternoon Pacific time to be finishing up old business. And the reason for that is on Wednesday, with the new moon, is when we're starting into new directions. But always the last several days, the last week before a new moon every month, is a time of closure or wrapping up. Now, later in the evening, Pacific time, decision-making communication Mercury leaves Capricorn, traditional career-oriented Capricorn, and goes into Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius, you're more open to thinking out of the box, looking to the future, be more less afraid, more open to technology. Now, on Tuesday, the moon continues in traditional work-oriented Capricorn, but it's going to go void of course at 7:49 a.m. until 11:32 a.m. Pacific time. In each week, I always mention when the moon is void of course, it's when it's changing signs, but it's no longer making aspects to other planets. Because at 11:32 a.m., it will have left Capricorn and go into Aquarius. But the moon void, of course, is a time to just stay the course, keep doing what you've been doing, good for reflection, good for resting, but it's not advised to introduce or initiate any important new projects. Now, during the day, Mercury, communication Mercury, is now at the beginning of Aquarius, and it's aligning with Pluto that recently re-entered into Aquarius. Pluto represents the underworld, and when Mercury is crossing Pluto, usually once a year, unless there's a retrograde situation going on, then our minds, our thoughts could be on with Pluto on astrology, the occult, that's Pluto, but more traditionally, psychology. And so this could be a really favorable time for deep introspection or researching, investigating, looking into what is hidden, that's Pluto. Now, on Wednesday, now we have the new moon in the sign of Aquarius. The new moon, wherever the new moon falls in your chart, is where your priorities are being directed, where your attention is now more focused for those next 4 weeks, until the next new moon, which will be in Pisces 4 weeks later. Having the new moon in Aquarius, we're looking more towards the future. And being it's always a new moon in Aquarius, at the end of January or into February of every year, it's when we start to really look at our goals for the coming year. And this new moon is going to be in harmony with optimistic, expansive Jupiter. So a lot of people are going to be really looking more optimistically to your long-range goals and plans for the coming year. On Thursday, the moon continues in Aquarius, but immediately goes void of course at 3:29 a.m. until 2:52 p.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon goes into Pisces. Again, with that moon in void of course, just keep to the routine, stay the course, try not to introduce anything important. Because you see, the energy, since the moon isn't making any aspects to other planets during the void period, the energy is flat. It's unproductive, and you wouldn't want to start and initiate new project when there's no energy. Also, the sun will be in harmony with Jupiter. This might happen, it will happen twice a year. The sun's putting a real spotlight for the day in a very supportive, positive way to Jupiter. So all things Jupiter, you might be feeling more optimistic about. Plus, it's getting that new moon energy up and running. Jupiter can mean you could be, yes, looking optimistically to your long-range plans, but Jupiter rules over education or publishing and teaching. And my favorite is traveling. And this is a good period to be traveling or to be making travel plans for the coming year. On Friday, now the moon is in Pisces. Well, it actually went into Pisces, remember, Thursday, 2:52 p.m. Pacific time. When the moon's in Aquarius, the emotional tone is more futuristic, but it's more detached. It's more impersonal. But when the moon goes into Pisces, it's very emotional. It's very empathetic and compassionate. Can also really awaken a lot of the creative imagination. Now, on Friday, with the moon in sensitive Pisces, it's going to be in a hard angle to expansive Jupiter mid-morning Pacific time. What that means is Jupiter is all this expansive optimistic energy, but when the emotional moon is in tension to the Jupiter, you may be inclined to have inflated expectations, like going over the top with what your beliefs and expectations are. By mid-evening, 8-9 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will be crossing over Saturn. So you got to be careful that the beginning of the day or by mid-morning Pacific time, you may be having these grand expectations. But then by 8-9 p.m. Pacific time, with the moon with Saturn, you may need to start cutting back or start feeling that you've hit a roadblock with all these grand expectations. So moderation. And then on Saturday, February the 1st, the moon continues in compassionate, sensitive Pisces. And Venus, pleasurable, romantic, creative Venus, will be crossing over Neptune as it does once a year. Neptune is also the planet associated with Pisces. So Neptune is very compassionate, spiritual. That Venus-Neptune can be and it's a Saturday, so parties, going on date night, attending an entertainment venue. That Venus-Neptune can be very romantic, very creative, or you could just be going to the movies or any kind of entertainment, show. And with the Venus-Neptune, you could be feeling it so magical. You'll be being swept away by the music, by the imagination. And the moon will go void of course. There's a lot of void of course this week. That's not very common. So there's a lot of this stopping, reflecting, resetting. This void will be at 2:06 p.m. Pacific time until 5:10 p.m., at which point the Pisces moon, more reflective, introspective Pisces moon, goes into fiery Aries, impatient Aries, really assertive Aries. And that continues for those next 2.5 days. So on Sunday, with the moon in enthusiastic, assertive, confident Aries, it's a good day because it's going to be in harmony with communication Mercury, mid-morning Pacific time. So that moon Mercury is good for writing, speaking, learning. By noon, early afternoon, now the moon is in harmony with expansive, optimistic Jupiter. It's a good day for traveling or back to making travel plans, educational plans. And by late afternoon, the moon in Aries will be in harmony with the sun in Aquarius. And when the sun and the moon are in harmony, it seems like the energy just flows. Everything seems a little bit more effortless, and it's very favorable for relationships. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.